Good evening, everybody. So, this is going to be a very short lecture. Basically, I'm going to cover the latest blocks which are in the year 2019 to 2024. So, these are a little unconventional blocks which probably as residents, maybe you all have just started, seeing that it is being given. Because any new block which comes, we directly do not try on patients. We see the studies, we review the literature, see the efficacy, safety, and then we administer in clinical practice. So probably these are the blocks you all may not have seen or have just started seeing. So I'm going to discuss the four blocks which are there, which have been introduced in the last 5 years. Two are the abdominal wall blocks, that is the M-TAPA block and the external oblique intercostal plane block. Both were in 2019. And I'm going to discuss two lower limb blocks. One of them is the parasacral ischial plane block, and the other is the CAPS block, or it is popliteal sciatic block in the supine position. It's a very interesting block. So let me go one by one. Yeah. So a quick revision of our regional anesthesia journey for upper abdominal surgeries, like, open cholecystectomy, lap cholecystectomy, a rooftop incision for Whipple surgery, that kind of thing. So most of y'all must have seen the oblique subcostal TAP block. Now, either the TAP block, just a minute, let me get my pointer. Yeah. So trap lock is usually administered medial to the linea semilunaris or lateral to it. And however we administer it is basically coverage is from T6 to T9. Then there is the erector spinae plane block, which has to be given in the prone or the lateral position. And there is a transmuscular quadratus lumborum block. There also the patient has to be in the lateral position. It is given in the flank region. So these two blocks are good blocks for upper abdominal surgery because they have wider coverage than your subcostal tap block. However, it's a little cumbersome to keep turning the patient prone or lateral for a supine surgery. All right, so these are the limitations. The positioning is a limitation. Before we begin the new block, I'll quickly revise the abdominal muscle attachment. So we begin with the external muscle, which is the external oblique. It has attachments on the 5th to the 7th ribs on the external surface. Once we reflect the external oblique, in the thoracic cavity, we have the intercostal muscles, and in the abdominal cavity, we have the internal oblique. Now, this internal oblique is going to attach to the inner surface of the ribs. Once the internal oblique is retracted, we get the transversus abdominis muscle that also attaches on the inner costal margin. All right. And the intercostal muscles are anyways there. So the upper abdominal walls is supplied by the T7, T8, T9, T10, and T11. And these are the thoraco-abdominal nerves. All right. And that is what we are going to be discussing. So coming to the M-TAPA block, it is the modified thoraco-abdominal nerve block through perichondrial approach. Okay, so thoraco-abdominal nerve blocks means T7, T8, T9, T10, and T11. Okay, so we are blocking them through perichondrial approach. So this was invented by Tulgar et al. In 2019. What we do is a linear transducer is placed in the parasagittal plane in the costochondral angle. Means this is the costal cartilage and costochondral angle. This is a chondrule. So the ribs and this is a chondrule. So costochondral angle between the 9th and the 10th costal cartilage, it is somewhere between the mid-clavicular and the anterior axillary line in the parasagittal plane. And it is angled deeply to view the lower aspect of the chondrule. Okay, now the logic behind this is that the T6 to T10 thoraco-abdominal nerves pass under the costal cartilage between the origin of the transversus abdominis muscle and the cartilage. So we basically, they want to deposit the drug over here. So this is how the probe is placed. It can be like this, or it has to be angled deeply like this. Now, so the problem is that if we place the probe like this, then we can have a needle insertion from the caudal to the cranial direction, and it can be an in-plane needle insertion like this. Considering this is cranial, this is caudal, and this is an in-plane needle insertion, all right? And this is where the drug is deposited. However, if the patient is slightly obese, bulky, then you'll have to angle the probe like this at the costochondral angle to look into the costal cartilage. So that time we can't do an in-plane needle approach. We have to do an out-of-plane needle approach. So this is one of the limitation of the block. It is a little cumbersome to go out of plane and then reach up to the costal cartilage and then give the drug. Okay, now initially the TAPA block was that Tulgar had suggested that you deposit the drug here also, that means between the transversus abdominis and the costal cartilage and above the costal cartilage. But now the modified TAPA, which is in use currently, it has only one injection. So this is exactly where we are inserting. This is a costal cartilage. This is the external oblique, internal oblique, and the transversus abdominis. The needle is inserted, and this is the drug. So the drug is exactly between IO and TA, but it's more so between the costal cartilage and the TA origin. All right. So this is the mTAPA block. Now, what are the clinical applications? Where are we going to use this mTAPA block? So they used it in lap cholecystectomy, and they used it in laparoscopic inguinal hernia surgery. And there are two studies. They compared where in patients, it was a randomized control trial where mTAPA was given versus no block. And obviously, if we are going to compare versus no block, definitely mTAPA had better results. It had lower pain scores at movement, at rest, and also the pain intensity, quality of recovery was better in those patients where mTAPA was given. However, when they compared mTAPA with our old subcostal tap, which you and I are regularly giving in our OTs for cholecystectomies, that time they found that there is no difference between mTAPA and subcostal tap. All right. So, what does mTAPA really cover? How much part? So, when Tulgar et al. He described in 2019, that time he reported a very wide coverage. He reported from xiphisternum till the infraumbilical area and up to the lateral abdominal wall. So, he reported a big coverage when he invented the block. However, subsequent studies, now this is a nice cadaveric study done by Savada et al. And he injected in the same place where Tulgar told him to. And he saw on dissection that only the anterior cutaneous nerves of T9, T10, and T11 are consistently stained, not even the lateral cutaneous nerves, only the anterior cutaneous nerves. Then there was one more study which was done in the volunteers, where also this mTAPA block was given. And the 6 volunteers showed that only the anterior cutaneous nerves and the midline part of the incision was blocked from T6, T7 to 2T11. And then there was one more study which was done in laparoscopic gynec surgery. All right. There, bilateral mTAPA block was performed because it was a laparoscopic surgery. So, bilateral block was performed and 30 patients were evaluated. And then, post-operatively, a sensory assessment was done in the anterior cutaneous nerve area and the lateral. Anterior means near the midline and lateral means near the anterior axillary line. So, what the authors found that in the anterior cutaneous areas, 100% all the patients had blockade in T8, T9, and T10 area, whereas in T6, T7, only 40 to 60%. Whereas in the lateral abdominal wall, T8, T9, T10 was only blocked in 60% of the patients. So essentially, we can say that this is only good for midline surgeries. And that also only in the anterior cutaneous nerve area distribution. So what is the indication? It is mainly for supraumbilical surgeries with midline incision, and block effect depends upon the volume we are using. If we are giving more volume, then it will maybe spread to the lateral abdominal wall. What is the surgical position? If in a gynec laparoscopy, what happens? We are giving a head-low position. So then there is a greater spread. Okay, so that's why there is a very mixed result, and the people didn't find it very, very promising in comparison to the old conventional subcostal tap. Now with that, I'll come to the next block, which is the external oblique intercostal plane block. So this was by Hamilton et al. In 2019, and he applied this block in a cadaver. So what did he do? He applied the linear transducer in the parasagittal plane at the level of 6th costal cartilage. So how do we decide which is the 6th costal cartilage? He just simply went from the xiphisternum in the parasagittal plane in the mid-clavicular line and placed the linear transducer there. Alternatively, we can count the ribs from the sternal angle and come down counting the ribs to the 6th costal cartilage. After that, he turned the probe obliquely such that the caudal end of the probe is facing towards the anterior axillary line. And then he injected between the external oblique and the intercostal muscle. If you remember what I had revised, beneath the external oblique in the thoracic cavity, this is the external oblique which is reflected, and beneath that is the intercostal muscles. So drug was injected between the external oblique and the intercostal muscles. And further, you can slide the probe down up to the eighth costal cartilage and continue to inject 20 to 30 ml of the drug. This is how a EOI plain block is given.